Where were we? Okay.
At the very beginning, John.
Oh my God. So minute 1 begins. Oh no.
I can't believe we're like getting close to the end. This is crazy.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
90, 91? I have to go look back at my notes.
91.
Yeah, 91. Welcome to Predator Minute, the podcast that breaks down the 1987 action sci-fi classic Predator 1 minute at a time. I'm John Zabriskie.
And I am Jeff Glover.
And today we're talking minute 91 of Predator. 91, you could call the Kevin Green, you could call the Styles G. White, the Dennis Rodman, or, of course, like last week, he also wore this jersey, Mac Moore of... Mac
Moore wore two numbers?
Yeah, he only wore 90 and 91.
Isn't this the guy that had like stats for like 2 plays?
Yeah, he had stats over 2 years for 2 plays. I'm thinking he must have been a backup to a backup to a backup and just never had that big break like so many people
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. So obviously I know Dennis Rodman, the Worm, badass rebounder. Who's Styles G. White? Do you know?
Styles G. White. Styles is surprisingly a nickname. It's not his real name.
I was going to say, this continues the trend of awesome names.
Yeah. He is a former defensive end in the NFL, National Football League. His real name is Gregory Alfonso White.
Oh, good choice, changing it to Styles with a Z.
Played for a lot of different teams: the Texans, the Bucks, the Falcons, the Titans, the Saints, the Redskins, the Washington football team,
right?
The Bears, the Cologne Centurions. I have to imagine that's some kind of French or Canadian football team.
Yeah, I'm going to go Canadian, but someone out there will tell us.
Before he goes back to the NFL to play for the Bucks and then the Vikings, he plays for none other than the arena football team known as the Orlando Predators.
Oh, there it is again. This came up earlier. Whoa.
Yeah.
And am I a bad sports fan if I don't know who Kevin Green is?
Yeah, he's a Hall of Fame defensive end. If you saw him, you would know he looks like a Viking. He has like the flowing blonde hair. He played for the Steelers for a few seasons after playing for the Rams for a long time.
Okay.
I believe he's still the Green Bay defensive line coach.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
See, my football is my favorite sport to watch and follow, but there's a cutoff where pre me playing fantasy football and post me playing fantasy football, I know way more about the players.
Right.
You know? Yeah. Number 91. Again, to pull back the curtain here a little bit, John, you made quite the list of other things associated with the number 91.
I can't help it. It's somewhat of an obsession just diving into what these numbers mean. The first thing that came to my mind, honestly, the first thing that came to my mind was the fact that it is the product of 7 and 13. I feel like those are, some primes that don't have all the love out there, but I love my prime numbers. So you look at number 91, you might be thinking that's a prime number, but not so fast, my friend. It is
not so fast.
Yeah, product of 7 and 13. And for some reason, I just had that in my brain for many years. Ever since Dennis Rodman wore the number 91, I thought, 91 is an odd number. I mean, is it significant? Is it a prime? Then I found out, it's 7 times 13.
Yeah, that's a good one. If asked quickly to say if 91 was prime or not, I might say it was prime had we not had this conversation. Yeah, good one.
Thanks.
Yeah.
What else stood out to you for 91?
Well, once again, you have pulled out some sequels here that are impressive from the year 1991.
Yes. This is going to be the most addicting part of all the numbers now of finding out what are the sequels out there, because I went way beyond just 2. I went sometimes 3, sometimes 2.5, sometimes 4.
You got some good ones here. Can I start running through them again?
Please.
Oh, well, we have to start with the granddaddy of all sequels,
Oh yeah.
Terminator 2.
Oh, I thought you were going to say TMNT2, Secret of the Ooze.
Secret of the Use? I was going
Yes.
with Judgment Day. But it's almost as good.
Yeah.
Let's see. Terminator 2, Naked Gun 2.5, Problem Child 2, House Party 2, American Ninja 4,
Mhm.
Never Ending Story 2, Child's Play 3, Critters 3, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Use,
Mhm.
FX2, Mannequin 2, On the Move,
On the move.
Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey,
Mhm.
aka Bill and Ted 2, Freddy's Dead, I don't know what number that one is,
I don't know.
Highlander 2, Fievel Goes West, aka American Tail 2,
Man.
Star Trek 6. I think that's all of them.
I think that's
Wow.
I think that's all the ones that came out in 1991. Some other big movies that came out: Beauty and the Beast, the animated one, Silence of the Lambs, Hot Shots.
I love
Which,
Hot Shots.
yeah, it seems like I thought that parody came out a lot closer to Top Gun, but I think isn't Top Gun isn't
Top Gun's like 88 or something?
It's 86.
86. Oh,
They
wow.
wait 5 years to make a parody. Not so much these days anymore. Now it's like we're just going to turn around and make it the same year if we can.
Right. Yeah.
What are some other ones? King Ralph.
King Ralph.
I remember that one. New Jack City.
New Jack City's awesome.
And there's just a ton of movies I saw in the theater. I remember seeing Bill and Ted 2 and TMNT 2 and Hot Shots, Beauty and the Beast, T2, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Oh, yeah. That was a big one that year.
Addams Family, Ernest Scared Stupid, The Rocketeer. I think The Rocketeer is the first movie I saw by myself.
Oh, wow. I remember seeing that in the theater, too, with my family.
I love that thing. Silly back in the day. Let's see. Last Boy Scout, I had to throw that in because Shane Black wrote that.
Right. Don't skip over one of my favorite action movies of all time.
Double Impact?
That's also good. I was going to say Point Break.
Yeah.
Double Impact is close, though. Double Impact is the next one.
That's a good one. Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Playing himself
Cool
twice.
Ice?
What was that? Oh, Cool as Ice. Yeah. Drop the zero and get with the hero.
Words of wisdom. Drop that zero and get with the hero.
Yes. I was just listening to the VHS Strikes Back with former guests of the show, Chris and Dave, and they just did an episode on Cool as Ice. And they're in this terrible run right now where they're like Jim Cotta, Cool as Ice, Highlander 2. Oh, which is another. Did you mention Highlander 2? That also came out in 91.
I think I did, although I've never seen any of the Highlander movies, actually.
I remember seeing the first. Yeah, I remember seeing the first 3, and that was it.
Yeah.
They were, not that good.
Not that good. Yeah. Good list, man. Lots of good movies. Man, we are, with the number being in the early 90s, looking at movies from the early 90s is just straight up nostalgia. We're going to get, if we keep this up, we're going to get lots of really good movies to talk about.
Yeah, it's just going to be Ernest Scared Stupid. Yeah.
I was always more of an Ernest Goes to Camp kid.
Yeah, I have to say I was more of a Scared Stupid guy just because of how scary it was as a kid to have like a troll stealing the kids and turning them into little wooden dolls. It was so bizarrely scary.
Yeah. I always liked Goes to Camp because they make all these contraptions and to fight back against the evil corporation, right?
I just remember the snapping turtles dropping from the sky and biting people on the balls.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
That's all I remember from that movie.
Really? Yeah. And one's like, they get a shot of one biting a guy on the lip and the nose. Yes. Yeah. They do a bunch of stuff. They also build a catapult and they fire a toilet that's filled with M80s or something. Oh no, the toilet's filled with eggs erroneous, the disgusting food from the cafeteria. Well, not to dwell on this too long, but I have to mention 1991 was also the year that we got one of my favorite video games of all time, which is Super Mario World, the first Mario game for the Super Nintendo.
Yes, that's the Super Nintendo comes out in the U.S. in '91. It's another pivotal moment for me and for my brother Aaron. Having all this new technology at our fingertips, literally, and playing things like Super Mario World. What else did I have on there? I guess that's all I had.
You had Metroid 2, Mega Man 4, Sonic the Hedgehog, Street Fighter 2 in the arcade. Battletoads.
Yeah, one of the hardest games you'll ever play, Battletoads on the NES.
Yeah.
And then 91 is also a great year for music. I don't know if you knew this, but that's when Nevermind comes out from Nirvana.
Yeah, also we all bought that album. Yeah.
Yeah, Pearl Jam's Alive comes out.
Oh, yeah, and the 10 album.
Yes, and REM releases Losing My Religion. Everything I Do comes out with, what's that, Bryan Adams?
From Prince of Thieves.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was one of the bigger, I remember that being one of the bigger soundtrack movie tie-ins.
It was huge.
In the 80s and 90s, you'd have these movie soundtrack songs that would just, it was like Let It Go from Frozen, but every year you'd have a couple of those.
Yeah, like Bryan Adams on Prince of Thieves. You had Seal from Batman Forever.
Yes.
There's a couple more that part of the movie's success stemmed from the video being on MTV for the song that was basically a commercial for the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just like Terminator 2, they had You Will Be Mine by Guns N' Roses. I remember
that was right.
Back in the cassette days, I actually recorded that not from the radio. I recorded that off MTV on the TV, so it had all the little goofy one-liners from Arnold and stuff like that in the actual video. That video had the Terminator going to a Guns N' Roses concert.
Yes. Oh my God, I forgot about that. Oh, that's funny.
Terrible.
Oh, well. What are we talking about in this podcast? What do we do here?
Talking about Predator minute at a time, Jeff. I don't know where you've been.
That's right. I almost forgot. I've had a lot of vodka, John.
No problem. We're just dwelling on the year of Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic, 91.
Another great album, man.
Good stuff. But you're right. The time is a flat circle. Death is but a door. Time is but a window. Time is a lot of things.
It's a lot of things.
Time, we're talking about minute 91. Minute 91 of Predator opens with Dutch seeing something as he crosses the log, and it ends with Dutch moving around some rocks with 2 brand new spears in hand.
Oh, yeah, this is exciting. We'll talk about that when we get there, but I had forgotten that part, having not watched the end of the movie in a while. All right, so we're going to break this minute up into 2 parts. The first part is a full 53 seconds of this minute. We carry over from last minute. Dutch is carefully walking, but quickly, across the log, which is supposedly a different one than the other log where he yelled and the Predator fired the laser cannon. Dutch hears a soft clicking sound as he looks up. Cut to the Predator jumping down onto the log like a badass. We cut back to Dutch looking around looking around for a hiding space. Cut then to the Predator looking around for Dutch, and the camera patiently pans from seeing the Predator to down under the log where we see Dutch hanging onto the underside of the log. The camera then revolves 180 degrees around the hanging Dutch, moving from his right to left. As the camera reaches about his 4 o'clock, he and the audience, we kind of semi-spy the Predator kind of from the knees down, walking off the log and back into the jungle. Back. 53 seconds here.
Yeah, and my first note was that this is a wonder I had never really thought about when thinking about Predator and watching the minutes. It just kind of jumped out at me after starting to take notes that as the camera moves from right after Dutch is looking around, as soon as it cuts back to the predator and the predator is just looking all over, you don't right away realize that Dutch is not on the log anymore until the camera just staying on the predator and drifting down under the log is then seeing Dutch hang on to that log and rotating all the way around him. Or is it revolve? I think it's rotate all the way around him. And then back up to the predator walking away. That is all one shot. That's all of a 42-second oneer, like hanging in suspense as Dutch hangs under this log. I think this is just a wonderful discovery right here, and a wonderful example of showing how Dutch is having to be strong, holding onto the log, but also really patient, just trying to outweight his enemies in suspense.
Yeah, this is once again McTiernan really flexing his camera work muscles, because this is an impressive one shot here. I assume this had to be a handheld camera and someone kind of walking down and whipping around and keeping everything center frame as they move. So it's really cool. And yeah, I like what you say about Dutch being the patient one here, right? Like, this reminds me of like when you're playing a video game and you realize that the best move is to actually try to be quiet and stealthy through a level instead of trying to just blow everybody up.
Mm-hmm. Boring.
Boy, I know, boring. What do you think of the actual, what am I trying to say? The realisticness of this? Dutch presumably gets down there in about 4 seconds.
Yeah, he does take like a second and a half or so to look around him for, I guess, a hiding spot. I don't think it's realistic, but I think it's an excellent example of his desperation, but also his inventiveness, because he has been shown throughout the movie to be ultra inventive, whether it's throwing the Willie's Jeep down the hill with full of C4, or it's coming up with the nothing but net trap. We also have to keep in mind, like, his mission right now is not to take the predator head on. He is unprepared. I don't remember if he has the bow and arrow in his hand right now. I probably should, but I guess he has maybe on his back. But yeah, I don't. Obviously, it's not that realistic that someone can just snap out of sight in 1 second. Like, what would that look like? Him standing on the log to all of a sudden going under the log without making a bunch of noise, a bunch of commotion.
Right. I only brought that up for kind of a point of discussion because of course it is a little unrealistic, but it doesn't bother me at all. No. It's movie magic to a certain level. It's also Arnold being a physical specimen that none of us can quite understand. So maybe he is able to do it. And you're right. His goal right now is to not fight the predator. It's to get away from him. He just got blasted out of the trees, and he's looking to get away or hide and kind of regroup, right?
Right. And yeah, ultimately to lead the predator into his trap that he devised, the staking care of business a few minutes ago. So he's going to have to go basically back to that first log, back, and somehow not be discovered, and also lure the predator back there. So who knows? Maybe another torch is in his future plans. We don't know yet.
This move of going. This move of going from predator, or going kind of from Dutch over to predator, and we see him look around, and we cut back to Dutch in the way of the slow camera pan, and he's not there. This is kind of a movie trope, and you brought this up in your notes a little bit, and so we can unpack this a little bit. But we see this a lot as a trope in movies where the camera will show one character, move to a secondary character, and then as it moves back to the original character, that character is gone. Now, in this case, Dutch is gone, but we find out right away where he is. But we can think of other examples of this happening. I think the easiest one, most famous one, would be Batman, when he's having conversations with just about anybody. And as the person he's talking to looks back to where he was, Batman is just gone.
Things will get ugly.
I knew the risk when I took this job, Lieutenant.
How will you get him back in? He does that.
Right.
Yeah.
What did he say? He says at one point he's talking to Commissioner Gordon. He says, like, Harvey Dent, can we trust him?
Harvey Dent, can he be trusted?
And
Harvey Dent.
And at some point during the conversation, Gordon looks away, says something to answer him, looks back, and then Batman's gone.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun. Yeah, you looked it up. Did you name it yet? I don't think you said the name.
Yeah, sorry. This is in TV tropes. They call this the stealth high-by TV trope. And they have a bunch of listed examples here. The one, a couple more that jumped out at me was the movie The Crow, which I used to watch a lot as an angsty teenager in the mid-'90s. But Eric Draven, who is the Crow, has several conversations with a cop in the story. And at the end of all their conversations, he disappears with the camera moving back, and the cop sees that he's gone. So that's kind of a famous one. Did you see any else on the list, John, that jumped out at you?
I did. And hey, good work finding this TV trope, because it was something that's not on the actual Predator TV tropes page. So good searching for that, because it's something I mentioned in my notes that I really, really like when the movie pulls off this trick of, I mean, you're going to see it coming most of the time. Like, oh, the bad guys are right there. They're going to discover the good guy. The good guy can't be there. They can't be found. And right, it zips back to where the good guy was, and the good guy's gone.
Right.
So one of my personal favorites is the Spider-Man trilogy. One of my personal favorites is in Spider-Man. The first one by Sam Raimi has a scene where Norman Osborn comes into Peter Parker's room, where 1 second before you're looking at Peter Parker standing in his room in the Spider-Man suit. It pans over to the door, people coming in, pans back, and this is great because it's panning, it's not cutting, and I appreciate the pan shot. So Sam Raimi directing, but as it pans right back, like a whip pan back to where Peter was. Peter's not there. And then it continues where we see that Peter is now on the ceiling looking down on this. Peter has a drop of blood fall from the ceiling onto the ground as Norman Osborn's walking out of the apartment. Norman Osborn turns, sees the blood on the ground, like picks it up with his, smears his finger, and it looks at it and looks up, and then Peter's not there either on the ceiling anymore. So it's a double. Really appreciate
double.
That. Oh, it's a double.
Yeah, and you can also find this in, just about every 80s slasher movie. Flipping the switch and having it be a bad guy that we see high by would be like Michael Myers from Halloween. That happens several times in that film. You can find that happening a lot in many of the Friday the 13th films. And also on TV tropes, they have several James Bond movies listed here where either Bond or a bad guy are in a conversation, and as the camera moves back, that character disappears. So, this is something we see a lot. I like how in this film you get the initial, wait, he's not there. You kind of get that moment where you're like, the Predator is looking back, and you're like, oh no, he's going to see him. And then you realize that he's not seeing him, and you're like, well, where is he? And then a couple seconds later, it's revealed as the camera moves below the log. And I think that's just kind of a cool little moment of tension that's drawn out really, really well.
Yeah, and maybe that's why it's not in TV tropes, because it's not exactly that formula of
right.
looking right back where Dutch was standing and then nobody's there. But yeah, it does it much more artfully, like you're saying, and showing us and panning around Dutch as he's cling under that log, which is probably really hard to do. Cling under hang from something with like your whole body basically horizontal. It looks really hard to do.
Yeah, this would be tough. I assume that in movie making magic, he has a little harness on here to help him hold on to the log.
Sure.
But I was thinking about if I was underneath a log like this, like it's got to be kind of wet and musty and lots of vines, probably insects. You're trying not to make any noise, and every muscle you move is going to rustle something down there, but you're trying to stay super still.
Yeah.
It just seems pretty awful.
There's like crud falling off of him, whether that's from the log or that's from his muddy whatever exterior, that who knows. There's also this red kind of vine plant, just sticking right in his eye as the predator is seen walking into the jungle. And by the way,
You're right. I missed that before.
yeah, it's like, oh, super annoying. And
Yeah.
I'm sure they did that on purpose to make it look super annoying.
Yeah.
But I believe the way he's oriented, and then as the predator walks away, is showing us that the predator is walking the way Dutch came on the log, which is a really cool touch. Like it's a little bit disorienting as the camera's moving around to know which way the predator is moving off the log, but it's pretty clear that he's just going the way Dutch came and looking for any signs, which is pretty spooky and pretty efficient as a hunter to be doing that.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Like, yeah, even with the camera spinning all around and under the log and then back around, they keep the geography pretty easy to follow. And yeah, you're absolutely right. The predator is off the direction that Dutch just came from. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Do you have any other tidbits to add on this section, this long section of minute 91?
Beginning of the minute, Dutch is looking on the log. You can tell he has to look up to see the predator, and I think it's due to him having to be careful where he walks because because the log is covered with vines. So it's a neat little detail that, again, you're not really going to catch on your first or 10th viewing, but if you're watching this minute over and over again, you see him look up and give that kind of Spielberg face. You might be thinking, why is he doing that? Why is he like all of a sudden looking up and seeing it? It's because he's having to walk or he's having to watch where he's walking. He has to be really careful where he steps. I think that's a neat little detail that is right. It's not going to be in the script. Someone's going to say it on the shooting day.
Yeah. It's a real veiny log he's walking on there.
Real veiny log. And it's probably also hinting towards what he's grasping while he's hanging under the log. He's probably holding onto some of those wraparound vines.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah,
it's all connected.
Yeah, that is a nice little touch. And that would make sense why he's looking down and then all of a sudden has to look up and sees the predator. I like that. Mm-hmm.
A little bit of inconsistency here as the predator is first seen jumping onto the log. He's not really jumping onto the log. They're just doubling the shot from the previous minute where the predator is chasing Dutch and jumping from like a rock into like a bushy area with the flame in the background. That's just a double, a repeated use of that same clip, but they blend it really well in that when it cuts to the predator the next time, he's standing up from a squat. So in your mind's eye, you're thinking, oh, right, he just jumped onto this log and he's rising from this squatted position. So inconsistency, don't really care, but it's, I saw it, I noted it because that's what we do.
Yeah, I would never have noticed that unless you pointed it out, to be honest. Like it's a very quick cut, and you're right, they seamlessly blend that same jump into this new log position because he stands up from that crouched position. It looks just like that's where he's from or what he just came from doing. So
yeah, I think that's just them trying to give like a little bit of a flaw to the movie because the movie is so flawless. It's like, well, it can't be like 110%, just like 109%. That'll 1%, just that little.
It's got to knock it down a peg or two.
Right, exactly. Right. It's already in the pantheon of movies, so just take it down a little bit, guys. Just give me the Predator, double that scene from before. Because they must not have had the scene. Because if you think about it logistically, where the Predator is, that would mean the Predator is jumping from some really tall height onto this kind of standing alone log, and who knows where the Predator is meant to be jumping from in that scene. It would have to be like a Spider-Man like jump from a really tall height.
Yeah, well, as we've seen, he kind of floats through the jungle, stings like a bee, right?
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Last thing, let's give the track a nice shout out here. This is the track known
it's
as...
on the second page. That's why I didn't see it.
Yeah,
sorry. Yeah, start over again. Sorry. Okay.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I appreciate the push on. Like, eventually the podcast has to end, and some of us just don't want it to end, Jeff.
Fair enough.
Let's talk more about 91. 91.
Let's go back.
Anyway, the track name here is Wounded Predator. It's doing all sorts of things because it's involving the shootout from earlier with the lasers and the explosive bow and arrow. It's including hanging under the log all stealth-like, and then it's including the next transition, moving to Dutch picking up his spears and hunting the Predator down.
Yeah, this is a real nice, moody track that they play here. And like I said, it just goes along well with that long panning shot where they're kind of building out the suspense. So no real heavy drums or horns or anything, just that light string to kind of keep us on the edge of our seat.
Yeah, nice light touch.
Yeah. Very
Alan
nice.
Silvestri, good work.
As always.
Mm-hmm. When's he going to come on the show?
Good question. We gotta reach out.
Yeah, I don't even know how to reach out to these, heavyweights like that, Alan Silvestri, and
He'd be like, "Wait, you guys are doing what?"
click.
Yeah,
Alan, I think you're disconnected on accident. Come back. He'll call back.
He'll get right back to you. All right.
Yeah.
Are we at the second part? God.
We're at the God dang it. We're at the last 7 seconds. Hey, the number 7 is known as a prime number. All right. Okay. Jeez.
The second part of the minute. We carry over from the first part of the minute. To the final 7 seconds of this minute. We cut in time just a few seconds ahead. Dutch has apparently, presumably, let him down from this log and is now regrouping. And we see him pulling 2 brand new weapons out from under some bushes. Mm-hmm. With these weapons in hand, he then pauses at a rock outcropping to then look into the jungle and minute.
Yeah.
What is he grabbing here? We haven't seen these before, right?
Yeah, I don't remember seeing these weapons before, so I can't apply Chekhov's spears to them, but he just
I thought they were tiki torches at first.
This party!
Let's have a barbecue.
See you at the party, Predator.
I've got some chicken wings. Nice tenderloin.
Some fried Predator.
No, but these are, when he comes around the corner, then we see that they're kind of like a sort of spear weapon, right?
Yeah, we didn't see him make any spears, so what's going on here?
I don't know, but I'm excited. I've mentioned this before. I have not watched the end of this movie in a while, and I'm trying to force myself not to watch ahead as we finish out this project. So when this came along, I had forgotten about these 2 spears, and I honestly can't remember what he's going to do with them. So call me excited. I want to see where this goes next minute.
Yeah, it just not even looking ahead, but just looking at the spears themselves. They have the look of one being your more conventional spear. Mm-hmm. And this is answering a question I didn't write down because I thought to myself just the other night when you're thinking about Predator a minute at a time, as you do. As you do. I'm thinking like, all the weapons in Dutch's employ is like a bow and arrow. These 2 spears, he already threw away his machete. Yeah. And he doesn't have the M16 with the grenade launcher attachment anymore. He doesn't have the Desert Eagle, which we never saw. And then I thought, well, he was using the life support system knife to cut up Steak and Care businesses items to make it sharp and deadly. Right. But whatever happened to that knife? And I believe we're seeing the knife right here tied to the end of a spear.
Yeah, that would make sense. What's the word? Repurposed it into a stabbing weapon.
Yeah.
Terminator 2, stabbing weapons cannot make machines. Stabbing weapons.
Knives and stabbing weapons.
Yeah, he's got a stabbing weapon here. And yeah, and so is he going to throw it? Is he going to set it up in some sort of like spear pointy trap? Well, I don't know. I'll have to find out soon.
And the other spear is looking an awful lot like maybe an explosive spear. I have to pause it a whole bunch because...
So that's what I was wondering. I thought that maybe that he's carrying one with the pokey end and then the other one has like a blunt end. I thought maybe that one was just backwards and we're seeing the handle of the second one.
Oh, maybe. But it seems to have like a metal tip in the cylinder at the end of that spear. I was kind of taking that metal tip to be maybe the grenade, like the unexploded grenade he kept around.
It's just the tip. He's just gonna
God.
just.
Is Adam Predica here?
I can't help it. Like I said, I've had some vodka. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah.
Just the tip, Arnold. Well, we can speculate as I'm falling asleep tonight and thinking about every minute of Predator. I will consider what he's going to do with these. I'm excited to find out. Mm-hmm.
I think once we're stabbing, once we're blowing stuff up, I think it's pretty much giving the Predator taste of his own medicine of stabbing things and blowing things up.
I like it.
Let's hope it works out for him.
All right. Well, that part's only 7 seconds.
Yeah.
I think we did it. Unless you have. Did you want to talk about script differences or save that for next?
This is where if you're reading the script, this is where the script is turning into a different movie. After Dutch has escaped the Predator, killing everybody, and that includes Anna, but not Billy. So Anna and Billy kind of switch places in the script there. Dutch just starts tracking the Predator and trying to find the Predator's camp. Try to find possibly the Predator's
spaceship.
Yeah, the spaceship possibly. He had come across earlier in the script a trap that the Predator had made. This kind of electric web, zip zap kind of trap.
Zip zap trap.
And then he's going on this like little other encounter, part of his pursuit of the Predator, where he's coming across a black jaguar in the jungle.
What?
Which, it's interesting that the script paints these other dangers of the jungle. There's like a scene in the script also where the team is falling through all these vines and breaking ankles and almost dying there. There's cliff collapses. But in this movie, I mentioned this a long, long time ago, despite all the hazards one might find in the jungle, the only hazard to the team in the jungle has been the Predator. It has not been anything else. And I think it's honestly more effective like that, painting the team as like this invincible group of badasses and muscle men, not being able to be taken by any just kind of natural things. So something else, otherworldly, natural, has to come take them out.
I think it kind of tightens up the movie a bit. Like I don't like the idea of watching this and having the Predator be something I'm worried about for these characters, and then also like, oh, are they going to fall down a hole? Or are they going to, get caught in the vines? Is a snake going to bite them or whatever? I think that would just sort of complicate the tension. I like that they narrowed it down to, it just makes the movie tighter. Like it's the Predator versus these guys. Dutch is going to navigate the jungle. He'll be fine. And we can focus on this showdown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess the only exception there is the slide into the water and then down the waterfall. That was kind of the only thing. But that was a nice way to move the movie on into the third act. So
act. That's a good point. That was like the one part where I felt like there was some peril that was not Predator based. It was escaping from the Predator based, but it was caused by something natural.
Right.
Even then, like Dutch is fine.
Right. He's like he's good.
Just a swim ashore. That was a big fall.
50 feet down, no problem.
I think that was 100 feet, if I remember.
Oh yeah. Ugh. Well, all right. Minute 91. Very nice.
91. Oh, last shout out. Let's give Kevin Peter Hall some love of just being the ultimate villain here, just looking around. And he's the ultimate villain because Arnold wants no part of him. Arnold is hiding under a log. He's not there to confront him. He's not there to brawl with him. He's not there to, shoes untied, flip him in the nose kind of deal. He's there to hide out and not encounter the Predator at all.
Yeah. His mission in this particular minute is to not run into the Predator. This is a moment of the final showdown where he does not want to show down.
Right, exactly. Showdown, no show.
Showdown, no show. Yeah. Well done.
Yeah. No, that's all I have. So this is the part of the show where we talk weekly recommends. So anything that we can recommend for the viewer? Whatever. If you're watching this on YouTube, I guess, but anything for the listener to watch or listen to or put on their feet or in their bellies, food or beverage wise. What do you have, Jeff?
Let's see here. Boy, I got a couple things I could talk about. I think I'll talk about, because I'll just stay on brand here, and recommend a small horror movie that I watched recently. And, new movies are hard to find these days. And new movies that are decent are even harder to find these days. But I watched this one. It was a little low-budget horror film. I think it's from IFC Films. And it is called The Rental. And you can find this on VOD. And this is directed by Dave Franco.
Oh, yeah.
Brother of James Franco. Yeah. And stars Dan Stevens, who you might know from...
Oh, yeah, The Guest.
The Guest, yeah. I think he's also in Downton Abbey, if that's your thing.
He's in the Beauty and the Beast remake.
Oh, yeah. Also,
Beast.
Alison Brie, who I've always loved as a comedic actress, but here she's in a more dramatic role and does a really good job. And then several other character actors. But the plot is simple. It's a tropey plot, actually, for a horror movie. It's two couples go to in this case, an Airbnb to spend the weekend there. And some horror begins to happen. And what I like about this horror movie is that it's a bit of a slow burn. And for almost the first 45 minutes, it's really just character development where we get to know these two couples, some of the issues they have. These two couples are friends, and there's some tension between some of their friendships. And so they really do a good job of kind of setting up kind of some non-horror tension that's going on in the group that ends up sort of transitioning into the kind of the main horror that we get in the third act. So I thought it was pretty good. A pretty good little, I think it's a debut for Dave Franco. So yeah, I mean, not great, but definitely worth checking out, especially if you like horror movies. So, and of course, it's a nice, tight 90 minutes, which I always appreciate.
It's the best.
Yeah. So check out The Rental.
The Rental. Did it make you feel like thinking twice the next time you go to an Airbnb?
Yeah. Or it just made me realize I'm just going to not go do an Airbnb with another couple. Although both these couples did not have kids, and so in that regard, I was jealous.
It is one of those things I notice now in movies. Like I used to notice, I wonder what job that person has to afford that kind of house or rental space. And now that's what I think about. Like, I
don't have kids. I'm joking. I love my children, but it's a global pandemic, and I'm stuck in the house with them all day, every day. So, anyhow, what do you got on the record? What do you got on the recommends for us this week, John?
Well, with me also spending lots of time with the kids at home these days. I mean, partly it's summer anyway, so that's what we do. Mm-hmm. I kind of graduated the kids from like the bigger, kind of blockier Legos. They're not even Legos. They're not even Duplos, whatever they were.
Right.
My 4 giant size bins of real Lego pieces.
Nice.
And so one of the fun things I've been doing is just kind of building these little vehicles and buildings as Gus and Eva are playing with whatever other little things that they're finding, whether it's the minifigures or little Lego animals or some of the cars and buildings I've been building.
Yeah, little people.
Yeah, little people, the Lego people. One of the big sources for Lego pieces, you could go to Lego and go through their pick-a-brick thing to buy specific pieces, but that can be a little bit expensive, seeing as all those pieces are brand new. And I guess from what I've heard, they can take a long time once you ship them. This recommendation is really for Timmy's Bricks, one of our listeners and members of the Predator Minute listeners, Palapa.
Oh, nice.
But if you want to buy like really specific, whether they're older sets that are discontinued, and Lego's been around for 40 odd years, 50 years, so there are going to be a lot of sets discontinued, or you're looking for just specific pieces, new or used, you don't care, I recommend going to bricklink.com, and you can build like these wanted part lists and then find like the cheapest, easiest way to buy those parts from the fewest amount of sellers. And there are just tons of like individual sellers on Bricklink, and you can buy all the parts to build whatever kooky dream thing you dream up.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Bricklink.com. Check it out for all kinds of crazy sets and mocks. Mock is a Lego term, MOC, meaning my own creation.
Nice.
It's actually caught on to the point where Sarah even built a Lego garage to design what her vision for our garage is.
That's
we're gonna have some
awesome.
people take a look at it and try to help us realize converting part of the garage to a mudroom, a laundry room /
Nice.
bathroom.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, hey, can I throw in one more quick recommend?
No.
Oh.
Dad joke.
Something that I liked to do with my friends pre-pandemic was to play cards, have like home poker games every once in a while. I like playing cards, I like playing poker, and I have a lot of friends that do too. And with the pandemic, we can't really do that anymore. So the question then became, how can we continue to have home games and play with each other online?
Impossible. There's no way.
There is.
What?
I'm here to tell you about it. Now, there are probably several ways to do this, and I've played around with different websites. What I don't like about most websites is you have to download software to your computer, and perhaps if that software is not legal in the state you live in, you have to also download a VPN to cover up where you live, just so you can use the software to play with play chips with your friends virtually, and it's a giant pain in the ass. But I found an awesome website. Actually, a friend of mine turned it on to me, and it's called pokernow.club. And if you go to pokernow.club, it is a 100% web-based poker software. Nothing to download, no accounts to create. There's not even any ads on the screen. This is completely created by an independent person who just asks for the occasional Patreon donation to keep this thing going. And it works incredibly well for it being a free service. And all you do is type in that website, you start the game, it gives you a link, you send the link to your friends, they click it, they jump onto the table, and you're all playing cards together. And I've been very, very impressed by how easy and user-friendly it is. So if you want to play virtual poker games with your friends, check out pokernow.club. Little free plug for that independent project.
So I guess my question would be, why would certain sites not allow you to just play for chips?
Well, they do. So like I did this with another time using PokerStars, pokerstars.net, right? Okay. Which you can download onto your computer, but Washington State has such strict online poker laws that you're not even allowed to play with play chips legally on a poker website. So you can set up a home game on like say PokerStars and use play chips and then just Venmo each other money at the end. But even to do that, you have to download, install it, create an account, and you have to also set up a VPN to disguise your location if you're in Washington State like I am.
Right.
And they also do what's called taking a rake, which is they pull a certain amount of play chips from every pot, which just messes up the totals at the end.
Right.
So pokernow.club does none of that. It's completely web-based, and it's just much faster and easier to set up, especially for people who are a little less tech savvy. So highly recommend it.
Okay, well, thank you, pokernow.club. And speaking of being less tech savvy, Jeff, where can people find you?
That was actually a good one. You can find me on the Twitter, Carl_Hungus314. I am Jeff Glover. Find me on the Twitter sphere.
My name is Carl. Ich bin expert.
Oh, that was just a joke. I know you're very tech savvy. I've seen your channel.
No, I don't.
I've watched your YouTube videos. Like, this guy has.
I do have them. I have my own YouTube channel. Come learn math.
.com/YouTube.
Where can we find us? /YouTube. Where can we find all things Predator Minute, John?
Hey, I'm glad you asked, Jeff. I'll start off with the Predator Minute Listeners Palapa on Facebook. Come there, join the group discussions that we throw around. Targets the center of the Palapa.
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 You can also find us on Twitter at Predator Minute, or you can email the show, and there's a reason I'm ending with that. You can email the show, predatorminute@gmail.com. And as I said in previous weeks, if you email the show, and I'll probably put some conditions on it now so people don't abuse that or anything like that. But if you email the show, we will read your email on the air. And do you have the first email up? I'll read the second one if you like.
We got this email from friend of the show, Brian Campus, who says, "Hey, fellas, thanks for the shout out on the show today. Absolutely love the show. I'm going to be crushed when it concludes." Oh, me too, Brian. Anyways, I wanted to say I came this close to emailing you guys last week saying the exact same thing as the guy who emailed this week. I've always heard it as targets the center of the Palapa too.
Targets the center of the palapa.
It was one of the main quotes my friends and I would yell as we played War in the Woods. Nice.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's cool.
He goes on to say, funny story, I saw Predator in the theater opening weekend for the conclusion of my 14th birthday party. About 6 or 7 of my friends and my dad. My dad had no idea what this movie was about, and when he went up to pay for our tickets and saw it was rated R, he asked the ticket lady, "Is there any sex in this movie?" She looked at all the kids and whispered to him, "No, but a guy's chest explodes."
Yeah.
He bought our tickets and gathered the boys and said, "There's extra popcorn in it, kids, that for kids that don't squeal to their parents. You guys are going to love this." Everyone told their parents that we saw Harry and the Hendersons. Keep up the awesome work, Brian Campus. Hey, thanks, Brian. And that's an awesome Predator story.
Yeah, an awesome Predator reference, of course. Harry and the Hendersons. Who played Harry? Kevin Peter Hall.
Kevin Peter Hall.
Kevin Peter Hall.
That sounds like an awesome dad.
Do you have any fun, like, dad take you to the movie stories like that? I have one.
My dad was not a big going to the movies guy because he did not like to sit in the seats. He always found them uncomfortable. But my dad, my mom would take me to movies a lot, actually.
Okay.
But my dad took me to, like, my 3 big memories are my dad taking me to Batman 1989.
Mm-hmm.
The first R-rated movie I ever saw in the theater, Terminator 2, when I was 11 years old.
I was going to say, I didn't even mention that. I forgot to mention that. That was my second one I saw, and that came out in 91. Hey, we talked about it. And the first one was The Hard Way, which came out a few months before that.
Nice, yeah. And my dad taking me to see Jurassic Park. That was awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. What was your dad movie story?
It was the Timothy Dalton James Bond movie. What was he? It was The Living Daylights.
Living Daylights?
License to Kill.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those. I think it was the second one, which is, God dang, that's going to tear me up. License to Kill, 1989. License to Kill, 1989, spy film with what's his face, Timothy Dalton. Love Timothy Dalton. He was in that movie. Where's this? Flipping filmography. Film. Living Daylights and License. Okay, yeah, he was taking us to License to Kill. Yeah, he was taking us to License to Kill, and like before he went in, he told me and Aaron, brother of the show, Aaron, he told us, okay, there's going to be some sex and some violence. in this movie. Just giving you a heads up. And there was. just I don't remember much else about what he said. I just remember like him giving us that little forewarning.
That's funny. That's when you just don't make eye contact with your parents while it's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like that scene in True Lies. I remember watching that with Sarah and like the rest of my family. Like, oh boy, this is awkward.
Oh yeah.
She still remembers that. Like, what are we watching?
The stripping scene.
Yes, exactly. No, slowly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did we have another listener email?
Yeah. Doug sent us a couple emails. I'll read off the first email if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah. So, promised we'd read them. So, here's what he sent. Japanese submarine slammed 2 torpedoes into our side, Chief. We was coming back from the island of Tinian to Leyte. Just delivered the bomb. The Hiroshima bomb. 1,100 men went into the water. Vessel went down in 12 minutes. Didn't see the first shark for about half an hour. Tiger. 13-footer. You know when you're in the water, Chief. You tell by looking from the dorsal to the tail. What we didn't know was our bomb mission had been so secret, no distress signal had been sent. They didn't even list us overdue for a week. Very first light, Chief, sharks come cruising. So we formed ourselves into tight groups. It's kind of like old squares in a battle, like you see in a calendar, like the Battle of Waterloo. And the idea was shark comes to the nearest man, and that man, he'd start pounding and hollering and screaming. Sometimes the shark go away. Sometimes it wouldn't go away. Sometimes that shark, he looks right into your eyes. You know the thing about a shark, he's got lifeless eyes, black eyes, like doll's eyes. When it comes at you,
entire monologue, right?
That's right. When it comes at you, doesn't seem to be living until he bites you. And those black eyes roll over white, and then you hear that terrible high-pitched screaming. The ocean turns red, and spite all the pounding and hollering, they all come and they rip you to pieces. By the end of that first dawn, lost 100 men. I don't know how many sharks, maybe 1,000. I don't know how many men. They averaged 6 an hour. On Thursday morning, Chief, I bumped into a friend of mine, Herbie Robinson from Cleveland, baseball player, bosun's mate. I thought he was asleep, reached over to wake him up, bobbed up and down in the water just like a kind of top, upended. Well, he'd been bitten in half below the waist. Noon the 5th day, Mr. Hooper, a Lockheed Ventura saw us. He swung in low and saw us. Young pilot, a lot younger than Mr. Hooper. Anyway, he saw us and come in low, and 3 hours later, a big fat PBY comes down and start to pick us up. That was the first time I was most frightened, waiting for my turn. I'll never put on a life jacket again. So 1,100 men went into the water, 316 come out, and the sharks took the rest. June the 29th, 1945. Anyway, we delivered the bomb. So thanks, Doug, for sending that email. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Doug.
Thank you, Brian, for sending us the little movie outing experience with your dad.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was a good story. Yeah.
Good story. Good story. Good story, Doug. Must have been terrifying. And thank you for your service. But again, if you want to email the show, predatorminute@gmail.com for all things Predator Minute 91. I've been John Zabriskie.
And I am Jeff Glover.
And until next time,
stick around.
Stick around.
Stick around.
Stick around.
More like hang around, am I right?
No.
Hey.
Waka waka waka.
Waka waka waka.